Hey everyone, Gaijin Goombah here. Okay, I apologize ahead of time. This video is going to have a whole lot of stuttering and uhs and ums and stuff because I have to totally ad-lib this and probably produce minimal visuals because I want to get this out ASAP. So, probably not going to be game exchange proper, but whatever. Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. We just found out about this, well, depends. If you pay attention to leaks, we found about this yesterday. Regardless, whatever. It's out, we all know it, it was almost the only thing that was talked about in the Nintendo Direct, which I gotta say was actually kind of disappointing. But whatever. It's out, we know about it, except we know nothing about it, except for a couple of little images here and there. But I have a theory. And don't you dare say game theory. I have a theory, I'm calling it right now. This Pokemon game will be one of the most Japanese-inspired Pokemon games to this date. And to really explain why, I need to talk about the history of Pokemon and the legendaries. So, like in Gen 1, you had the legendary birds, Zapdos, Articuno, Moltres, you had Mew and Mewtwo, but they were genetic experiments, besides the point. These three birds are based off of three mythical creatures, right? So Zapdos is based off the Thunderbird of the Pacific Northwest Native America, Moltres is based off the Phoenix, Articuno is based off the Chinese Tsuxiang water bird because of the long tail. I'm not 100% sure, I'm still researching into that. But, I mean, from the very beginning, so many of these legendaries were based off of mythical creatures, right? So, I'm gonna cite Did You Know Gaming, because they put together a really, really good video, kind of proving my point, but I'll put links in the description. They talked about how Ho-Oh and Lugia were based off of famous bird statues in Ginkakuji and Kinkakuji temples, or like Silver Temple and Gold Temple respectively. So again, we're talking about more mythological creatures, right? You've got Regice, Registeel, Regirock, which are based off of Jewish golems. Go watch the episode, he'll prove my point for me. There are so many legendary Pokemon that are based off of mythical creatures, a lot of it having to do with religion, so on and so forth. I know Ruby and Sapphire do the same thing with a whole lot of, I think, Norse creatures, not gods, but just creatures. But it just goes on and on and on. Legendaries equal mythical or legendary, or excuse me, yeah, legendary Pokemon, pardon, are based off of mythical and legendary creatures, right? So go watch that video, put a link in the description, whatever. So I want to talk more about that in future videos, but I can't do that. My mind is tingling. So let me kind of get to the point. This is the first core Pokemon game to not be based off of a color or a metal. At least I'm fairly certain. They're now based off of Sun and Moon, which are actual things. Now because of this, I firmly believe, and some of you may have guessed it, but I firmly believe that this next Pokemon game is going to revolve around the concepts of Amaterasu, the sun goddess, and Tsukuyomi, the moon god of Shinto. Most of you already know about Amaterasu, so I'll keep it brief. She's the goddess of the sun, the embodiment of the sun, the most powerful kami in Shinto. Her descendants were actually the ones who became, like, emperors and whatnot, so a lot of you know that. Tsukuyomi, completely different story, right? So, Tsukuyomi, or Tsukuyomi no Mikoto, God, I'm so excited. He was one of the three noble children, right, of Izanagi, who is one of the two first recorded gods in the Nihon Shoki, which is kind of like the Shinto Bible. So, anyway, the others were Amaterasu, of course, and their brother Susanoo. Tsukuyomi was not an evil god, but he was kind of a dick. So, previously, Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi chilled out in the same part of the sky / heaven. It's kind of interchangeable when it comes to Shinto. Amaterasu actually ended up marrying Tsukuyomi, which, okay, go ahead and make your redneck joke or whatever, or inbred joke. But I mean, when you think about it, who else is she gonna hook up with? Someone like freaking Raijin? Anyway. So Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi were together all the time, so the entire world was constantly bathed in light. Until one day. So here's the thing. Amaterasu was supposed to go to a banquet that was being held by Ukemochi, the goddess of food, right? So she couldn't make it for whatever reason and said, hey, Tsukuyomi, can you go in my place? Which he did do. And everything was cool for a while, but here's the weird thing, is that Ukemochi made food in like a really weird way. She would actually turn into the sea and barf out fish. She would turn into rice patties and barf out bowls of, like literally barfed out food. The food looked great, don't get me wrong. It looked delicious, it was scrumptious, etc. But this disgusted Tsukuyomi to no end. If you look into Shinto and the whole cleanliness versus uncleanliness thing, this action was very unclean, so he was just like, oh, this is gross. And he just straight up murdered her. Just straight up killed Ukemochi, right? So, upon hearing this, Amaterasu got really pissed off. Like, to the point where she pretty much divorced him and swore she would never be in his presence again. And because of that, she would then dwell in another part of the sky / heaven, which is why we now have day and night. Because Tsukuyomi god of the moon, is completely separated from Amaterasu, goddess of the sun, right? Going back to Did You Know Gaming and that particular episode I mentioned, there was a similar fight going on in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald between legendary Pokemon that were gods, and there was a similar god conflict, and I'm putting this together and I'm thinking to myself, there's gotta be something here, right? The other evidence that I have is, okay, so last Pokemon was based in France, right? That was X and Y. Black and White was based in New York City, right? There hasn't been a Pokemon based around Japan in quite some time now. And with Yokai Watch mopping the floor with Pokemon as a franchise in Japan, and yes they are. Oh, yes they are. I think Pokemon and Game Freak and whatnot decided, well, we need to go back to our roots. Because we need to tell our domestic audience that we still are, I don't know, favoring them or whatnot. Because again, Yokai Watch, it very, very much is more popular than Pokemon in Japan is right now because it's so Japan-centric. Now, I could be completely wrong, but knowing what I know about the patterns Pokemon have had with legendaries, with mythical beings of legend and religion and whatnot, basically being the inspirations for all these legendary Pokemon, I really can foresee the Sun and Moon, or rather, there being a Sun and Moon Pokemon, like in Pokemon Sun and Moon, having this weird rivalry that's like breaking the world apart or causing chaos of some kind. And it'll basically be the player's job to kind of fix it, along with whoever the next incarnation of Team Rocket is. I don't know, guys, but I'm calling it right now, if such becomes the case. But anyway, I apologize again, this was completely ad-libbed, I had a whole lot of stutters, but I was so excited to talk about this, and I just didn't have time to make a proper episode about it with the schedule that I currently have. But thank you for listening, guys. I mentioned Gaijin earlier in the video. I actually made 2 videos, one on the Game Theorist channel, talking about Gaijin and his relation to Lakitu, or vice versa. And then I have another video on this channel talking about SMITE's depiction of Gaijin. Gaijin's probably my favorite kami at this point, so go check it out. I had a lot of fun making both of those videos. But anyway, until next time, guys, this is Gaijin Goombah signing out.